Michael's canopy, I mean, it is really worn. These are some tent patches that he put on like 4 years ago, and they're clear. They're actually underneath. Well, it's sandwiched, okay, so it's on both sides. That's held up for like 4 years, so not so much here. We're going to put another canopy fabric on here later on. We're going to ride first. He's got some tie straps here. We're just going to do a redo on that. He's got 2 different colors of green we're going to try. We're going to take Michael's canopy and we're going to relace the fabric on here. So we're going to replace everything just pretty much like it is. We're going to replace these tie straps with the toggle button bungees, the new fabric on, and essentially put everything back like you see it. It will be a different color. It'll actually be colored because this is kind of lost things. You can see the fabric here, 4-year-old fabrics, had better days. But everything is still intact in the corners. Maybe use that material for some flags. He had his own quick disconnect for the front. The logs, or the rods, are as short as they will go. Pinned up here. So we're just going to take it loose here and strip it all down and refabric the canopy. So one of the first things we're going to do, we're going to take the V-block off, we're going to work from the bottom, and we're just going to start stripping this area here. And we're on. We're going to start by taking the V-block off. 2 hex socket set screws. And when you're taking this off, if you'll try to bend that V-block in and the rod out, it should come right out of that hole like that. So, and when you're putting it in, after a while, if you guide it straight in, you won't be chipping the wood up in this area. So there's our V-block, our rod stiffeners, and I wasn't sure. There's not a whole lot of damage here. We could probably still be using the main rods. We've got some 303 that I will coat these rods with. Once I get everything off, we'll coat the rods. This is like an SPF 40, actually for rubber parts, but when I build up the canopy, I use a bigger bottle of this. This is going to go with Michael. It is actually an SPF 40 for rubber parts, but I use it on the glass fibers. It's kind of like, it's a water-based product that gives a film on here, a nice film. So, with that, we're going to then cut all these little bungees off. We put a rubber band on here because without much tension on the rod, our little tension rod was kind of wanting to creep out the side, but you can see this rubber band that we put on as we were riding around the loop here actually helped to hold it there. So once this is off though, this rubber band is not normally there. There it is. This rod will just come right out the end. That is a tension rod. We'll reuse that. We're not going to use these tie straps anymore.
They were because out in Arizona the regular rubber just deteriorated.
Yeah. The thing about a tie strap, it doesn't grip anything and it slides around and it will get into the fabric sometimes and start deteriorating the sides of the fabric like that right there.
Yep.
You see a little bit of a tear right there. That's when those bungees would work sideways and get into that fabric. So we're going to be putting on
A better solution.
a toggle button, which will go down through the rod and just fasten like that. So we'll do that after we get things put back together. I'm going to go ahead and take this rear accessory bar off, the 2 set screws, one on this side and one on the other side. A couple of turns should do it. Set all this aside. And when you're trying to move this accessory bar, if this is not torn, what I do is I push down on the rod and I use usually the palm of my hand if I want to take it off and work a little bit on each side. I'm pushing the rod down a little bit to make it slide a little bit easier through there. And once you get it started, then you can kind of walk one side or the other. And eventually the canopy fabric will rip some more.
That's 4 years.
Our accessory bar. These fittings here, let's see, we've got to take that Allen wrench and loosen it up, or Allen screw, and loosen that to get that out. Is that right?
Yep.
Because I want to take the gear rack off. Is that a metric or fractional?
I do not know.
Get this tension rod out. So if the fabric is now it is ready to just be ripped off of there. I like to take and have this to where I'm pulling toward me like this, and I'm actually going to grab the fabric and the fittings and I'm pulling the fabric as I twist and pull the fittings. Very time consuming. This fabric is so old, it's just really brittle. I used to try to do this in front of me, and your hand will slip and it will rip the fabric. So if you have it out to the side, and I'm moving about 3 or 4 inches at a time, going from one side to the other. Again, grabbing the fabric and the fittings. If I just pulled on the fittings without grabbing the fabric, I would literally drag those fittings back through the fabric and it would start ripping here. So just pinch that fabric and pull it with the fittings. down at the end, I'm going to be holding the rod up here, and what I like to use is like a mouse pad. It's just a real good grip for the rod, and now I'm pulling toward me, but my elbow's actually locked into my chest, so I have a lot of control over the amount of travel that I'm performing here. Getting the fabric out of the way, grabbing the fittings, both fittings, the fabric, just walking it right off the end. Those two. Those two. Those two. And whoop, back your fabric. And those two. And I'm going to put those in the middle here because this thing is going to want to spread like a divining rod. And there we have a bare frame and some flag material.
Okay. I'm going to hand this over to you.
Okay.
So here's the box.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, that's not been long ago.
No, it's not too long. But so I literally opened it just to check that there was stuff in it, but I haven't even opened it yet.
So here's fabric that was sent. This is how I pack stuff. Okay. There's an invoice.
Yep.
And fabric in tissue.
Yep.
And there's
yeah, I'm just looking at which one. I think one was green and one was blue.
no, I think there were two shades of green. I think.
Was
Yeah.
it 2 shades of green?
Yeah, I think that's what we have. See if you can get it started with that.
This is a dark. No, that's a tissue. So that's a darker green. I think this is.
There was a minty green, I think, and a forest kind of
yeah,
green.
2 different colors. Well, I'll do it. Let's see what. Because of the color of trike I have is the reason why I picked the. Yeah, one was a darker. So that's the dark forest green, and then this was a lighter colored.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a pair of scissors right there. Oh, but we would rather use diagonal cutters.
So
We're industrial strength people.
So my question is, I think I'm doing this one right now because that is the green monster.
Why don't you take those over there, both of them, and put them next to your trike. Let's see what.
Yep, we'll definitely go with this one.
All right.
Because I have my trike named.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, we got to go with that. Okay. So we're going to get ready to lace up that.
Okay, we're on.
I'm going to go ahead and coat these rods with this 303. And after it's wetted, if you'll take the dry side of the towel or rag and just polish that so it's not wetted. Do the other side. If there was any glass fibers on that rod, I do have some extra rod with me. Those glass fibers, they would pop through that paper towel. I would find them, but it feels good and solid. There's a little dimple right here where it was the rear accessory bar went through, which guess I would have a dimple too if I had those things strapped around me for 4 years. And we'll redo all of these with that mix. One of the things that while you've got the camera, I want to reassess where this bar is. This gap should not be here, right here. I want that all the way back, and you can see that that set screw was loose. But most importantly, there's a set screw in here on each side. Or, I say a set screw, it's a 1/16 of an inch pin. Let me get that over. Okay, so that pin is pointing like this way, and this one's pointing that way too much. I would like them both the same, and you can see I'm turning that pin, so this set screw is not even tight. This bar was too far back. That needs to be real tight, and as long as both of those, I call them a set screw. In fact, both sides is loose. As long as both pins on each side are parallel with one another or in the same angles, that will set up this whole front end, because all the holes were drilled together. So if you cock this one, that was going to cock, so the whole front end will go askew. So you want to make sure those pins, however they are, they're like a butterfly. They're like mirror imaging each other. So we're going to go ahead and really torque down on that. Set my wrench down. So that's what we're going to do first. I'm going to put that straight up and down. I'm going to push on the accessory bar to bump it real tightly against that rubber sleeve. And really give it a good tightening. The other side as well. Again, I'm going to rotate that around, push that over, kind of hold it there, and tighten that snugly. So now both of those pins are straight up and down with one another, and that should keep this from wanting to torque around. I'm going to wait to put these sleeves back up there, because after I get it all done, I'm going to recheck to see if they've stayed where I wanted them to stay. But it's now ready to start lacing, and I'm actually going to this table, we're way off the ground here. Let's pan down there and show them how far even the seat is off the ground. I mean, it's a little bit too high for me to work on. So
you want to do it on the other side?
Try to work on this shallower side here. This side. And I'm actually going to start right here with the fabric. Now I'm going to pretend, do we know if the mirrors were, which side is up? Can you tell by the mirrors or this? Maybe
this
not.
right here. This side is the top.
That's the top?
No, this is the bottom, because that's where this part right here.
Okay.
So the rotary part.
We got the bottom side up.
Yep.
Okay.
And we can remove the mirrors.
Well, okay, with the bottom side up, it's because it won't make any difference here, but I'm going to turn the fabric to where it's the bottom side up. In other words, the logo here and signature is on the other side.
Yep.
So bottom side up. We're going to lace one side far enough to where we can get a rubber fitting back on here. We're going to put, I couldn't remember if we had these on first. Before we had these, do you remember? Probably didn't make a whole lot of difference.
No. For right now, yeah, it doesn't.
So So we got those, and once that gets on there just a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put the fabric on. And again, I'm grabbing that fabric just enough to where I twist it up, and now the fabric, it won't fall off of there. So now I'm going to work on this side. That's going to pull your main rods here closer together as well. Whoa. Let's put some fabric on this. Our little fittings. Fabric. Grabbing the fabric and the fitting just enough to where I can get it started. Then I will get my mouse pad and start. Let's move these for just a minute. I'm going to hold the rod with the mouse pad. I'm going to grip that fabric and the two fittings. You want to be careful not to pull too quickly and run this rod through the fabric inadvertently back there. So just kind of a little bit at a time. And now that other pocket has come to the end. So now I can lace on. We had these in the front, I think.
Yes.
And that fitting. More fabric. Grabbing the fabric and the two fittings. Mouse pad on the rod. Just enough to get it started. Now I want to go back to the other side. I like to flip it like this and just stay on the same side because I'm right-handed and I prefer to grab and drag with the right hand. I'm going to pull it till that pocket comes into view. Right there. Get my other fittings. On there. Bring the fabric around, grabbing the fabric and the fittings, and a little bit at a time. You see where I've got this? This is not going to go anyplace, and this I've got really good control. Move that a little bit, and we're going to go back on the other side and get it to look like this. And we're just going to go back and forth, side to side. I don't like to see too much fabric in here because that means when I pull too much, this pocket's going to come in and get to the back side of that rubber. So I'm trying to keep that distance between the rubber fittings relatively close together. And just back and forth. And just take your time at this. This is, you're only going to do this once for this fabric. And I have ripped fabrics, mainly because I wasn't doing this. I had it out in front of me, and your hand will, these will sometimes hit a slidey part of the rod and they'll just move. So with this, I've got good control. I'm turning and pulling. That was sliding a little bit easier. I'm watching where the other side is. I don't want to get too far ahead of it. And just back and forth. about 1.5 feet. At this point, I'm going to pinch the fabric on each side and walk it toward the front accessory bar. When it gets to about where it's touching, grab those 2 rods, if you will, the tension rods. You're going to take the shortest one to the front, now when that tension rod goes through there, there's a little bit of fabric on each side. That's by design, because when we put the bungee straps on here and it pulls this tension rod forward, this fabric will wrap itself around the end and keep this rod from sliding out. So, if you'll hand me those toggle button bungees, we're going to replace what he had with these. And I'm going to go ahead and put, I'll just go ahead and put all 4 of them on. I'm working with the bottom side up, this is what I prefer. I'm right-handed. The bottom side will have the seam and the loose end of the sewing, the stitchery. I'm going to put my finger under the toggle button bungee and under the loop and connect it like that. I'm going to leave this out front for the moment. Pinching that, making a little point down through that cavity. See, that was outboard. Okay, at this point, I'm going to now pull this fabric back. I'm pinching and dragging to the rear, and I want a 1/4 inch gap up here. This little gap right here. I want a 1/4 inch between the edge, not in the middle, but the on either edge of the fabric, about a 1/4 inch. And that's going to locate this pocket. And now I'm going to put these fittings in the middle of this fabric pocket, like right there. I'm going to go back to the next one. I can now grab these and kind of hold everything and work on these 2. And I'm just moving these a little bit at a time. And that's going to locate those on that side. We'll do the same thing here. We're going to drag the fabric back. Put these in the middle of that pocket. Work back to this pocket. Now we're ready for the rear accessory bar. I'm going to turn this again upside down. And if you'll hand me that rear accessory bar, let's coat this before we put it on. Find our juice and towel.
We need to get another one. Oh,
Yep, here we go.
It's right in front.
We didn't have the front bar off. I kind of gave it a quick wipe. Well, we've got everything off. Kind of clean that up a little bit. The part, where the holes are furthest apart, in other words, when I put this bar on, it's going to look like that, not like that. It's going to look like this, because what that angled hole is going to do when I bring this together, it's going to push this rod out and put tension on the sideways tension on the fabric. I'm going to do this side. Again, I'm going to bend this rod this way, or the accessory bar, and bend the rod to where it's going to go straight through that hole, like that. And now we just start walking this a little bit at a time, walking that forward. When we start getting close to the fabric, I'm going to start moving a little bit slower. And now I'm starting to find that we're getting close enough. I'm going to bring the fabric back, because now I'm going to start pushing the rod with my thumb and pulling up on this a little bit as I can, if I can. And you see, it's just thumb pushing that. And we're going to bring that up to where it's just, well, we can touch the fabric on each side. And with the canopy upside down, we're going to take our, in fact, I'm going to get back on that side and put this tension rod in. I've not set the set screws at the end of that accessory bar. And now I'm going to pinch this here and hold everything in place. And I'm going to check to see where my fabric is in relationship to the end of that tension rod. So I've got a little bit of fabric on each end. So now, when I put one of these toggle button bungees in, it's going to hold everything right where it is. Okay, now I'm going to have you come back over here. I like to work in this fashion, and again I'm going to look for that 1/4 inch gap, and because it's not wanting to move, because I'm not going to tighten that set screw yet. I want to get this side with a 1/4 inch. That's wanting to move. It's wanting to move. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and snug this up. To hold that 1/4 inch there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this back. Got a 1/4 inch. And I'm going to snug that up. Now you would think, and again, the canopy is bottom side up. You'd think we're done. Essentially we are. But one of the things that I've never covered in a video, if your canopy is wanting to torque with you, one of the reasons might be that these are not tightened parallel with one another. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on the front accessory bar. I'm going to hold it flat with one finger. I'm going to put under the middle of the rear accessory bar, and I'm going to lift up. And you can see that that side's coming up long before this side. So they're not level with one another. Now, I've already set these set screws, so I'm going to have to loosen them. On a new canopy, this is pretty snug in here, and usually there's enough resistance to where that set screw hadn't already been tightened. So now I'm going to have to loosen both of them. I'm not going to, I just heard that pop a little bit, so that it's possible that it will move. So we'll see how easy it's going to move. Because what I want you to do is hold this down, lift this up with the finger, and if this side's lifting up, I'm going to lift it up and bend it down until that comes up level with the front. And now these accessory bars are level with one another. Now I'm going to go back and re-torque these. We just put that canopy fabric on Michael's trike, so we put everything right, back like it was. So he's got a gear loft up underneath the front. That's the only addition that we made.